Thank you. Let me just begin with something that's important to address at the outset. From the Public Financial Disclosure Report, obviously you served as a principal or a consultant at the West Exec Advisors. And did you ever consult on behalf of any foreign entities?
No, not through West Exec. I was on the advisory board of a French private company, but not of any foreign governments.
To the best of your knowledge, have you ever consulted for any company that's done business in Xinjiang or has taken a position against the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act or the Hong Kong Autonomy Act?
No, I have not, Senator.
Have you consulted for any company on the Department of Defense's list of Chinese communist military companies?
No, Senator.
And have you ever consulted for a company on the Department of Commerce's entity list for export controls?
No, Senator.
Oh, thank you. You touched on this first, but let me just ask this because it's important, I think, for our members to get back to the regular course of business. Can we get a commitment from you to testify annually at this committee's Worldwide Threats hearing?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. And if this committee requests your assistance in declassifying for public release any future reports or studies that we do, can we also get a commitment from you to aid in the expeditious production of declassified committee products?
Yes, Chairman, I absolutely commit to working with you to declassify information, obviously mindful of sensitive sources and methods that we need to protect, but otherwise working with you to try to...
Where it comes into play is when we do a report and then we ask for a declassification review so we know which parts have to be compartmented, classified, or public.
I see.
And obviously, the faster that process moves, the quicker the decision on what to leave classified is obviously up to the intelligence community, but our ability to produce those products are dependent on those decisions. You know, there's so much going on, but one of the areas we've talked about in our conversation is the Chinese Communist Party. And as we've seen, it's a multifaceted challenge without, I think, precedent, given it touches virtually every aspect of American life: commerce, trade, academia, immigration, obviously military, finance sector, and the like. But one of the areas that's of concern is their longstanding and increasingly developing and robust influence operations to target American political figures for cultivation from the local level all the way up. They're very patient in that effort. They'll view someone who might be a mayor or even a council member that one day might be a member of a committee. But in essence, what they're trying to do is create a stable of American policymakers and influencers who share or will promote China's narrative of events around the world. As you think about, and some of these touch into areas, frankly, that are, because they're domestic, are not entirely with the intelligence community purview, and in other cases, and the vice chairman, Senator Burr, myself, and others participated in a series of roadshow type events with different sectors of our country to sort of create a level of awareness about this that I think in many cases was lacking. I think that was quite productive. Have you thought about, or what do you view in light of that, in light of those influence efforts, have you given thought to what the intelligence community's role can be in providing counterintelligence support, such as awareness training to state and local governments and other sectors of our country, so that people sort of understand that when you're being approached by someone who does business in China or is here under the guise of academia or the like, they're not James Bond. These are not, you know, but they operate in a way that is trying to influence you towards narratives that are favorable to China that ultimately will influence public policy. So I've given some thought to what the intelligence community's role would be in countering and confronting that sort of threat.
Thank you so much. Obviously, the counterintelligence challenge with China is a very important one, a priority, and something that I will need to focus on. And I haven't had a chance to get the kind of in-depth classified briefing that I'd like to on these issues to provide you with a more considered opinion. But I absolutely agree with your overall view that we need to do more training in this space. And I noted, obviously, in the work that the committee has done on Russia, that one of your recommendations relates to more training in respect of counterintelligence. I think that makes sense in the context of China as well, and something that we should focus on. And I know that prior directors of national intelligence have emphasize the importance of having those partnerships with local and state actors. And I think that's a space where I would like to further engage with you on this issue, but I think having a plan for how we can increase training and education of various leaders in state and local authorities, so that they understand the threat that is facing them would be perfectly sensible.
And somewhat in line with that, but on a broader is if you look at recent events in this country, we know that one of the goals of our adversaries is to sow division, dissent within the country, to soak pre-existing challenges in our country, and because they've obviously it's very difficult for a house divided to stand, and they understand this, and obviously that poses a real challenge. And I'm making no claims here about recent events other than to say that common sense would tell you that these are times that lend themselves perfectly to foreign adversary efforts to stoke fires and drive divisions and or to take advantage. But it's difficult because often those efforts become domestic efforts and therefore begin to touch on Americans, U.S. citizens, at which point sort of the lines of the intelligence community become more blurred, domestic versus foreign target. Have you also given some thought to this challenge that we now face, where I don't think any of us expect that these efforts to continue to get us to fight with each other, not that we don't do a pretty good job of it on our own, but none of us expects that these efforts to get us to fight against each other beyond the normal is not going to continue for the foreseeable future, and what the IC's role would be in that.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I mean, obviously, I absolutely agree with you in terms of the concern about efforts from foreign adversaries to ultimately exacerbate divisions that exist in the United States, and that one of the key issues that we're going to have to be facing as a country is the malign influence of such actors and how that's working into our system. It is obviously a whole of government activity, and something that I hope the intelligence community can appropriately support, particularly in terms of the link and an understanding of the foreign influence that is being conducted. I know that in a recent law that's been passed that there was the direction to establish a foreign malign influence center within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and I look forward to working on that. And I think that could be part of the support that would be useful in this context.
Great. Thank you very much. The Vice Chairman.